What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another TCG eSports Gwent Weekly Open, the cast live. I'm your host, ShoePlays. Welcome, everybody. This is the cast of the June 27th Weekly Open, number 17. And I'll be your host for tonight. We've got a great couple of matches for you coming up. We've got a semifinals match, as you can see on the screen, and we also have the finals as well. Just to give you guys a little bit of rundown of the tournament format, it is a conquest with no bans. The matches will be a best-of-3 series. Players have to register 2 decks for each series, each from a different faction. Being conquest format, they each have to win with one of their decks. So you need to be well-rounded to win here. Got to win with 2 different factions. Let's go ahead and give kind of a brief overview of the Gwent meta as a whole before we jump into these matches. So it's been a few weeks since our last balance patch. Brought the Skellige Rampage to the ladder. As many of you know out there on your climb, that Skellige has just been swarming the ranks. They're probably the most consistent faction. They probably have the best variety of decks, strong decks that is. And they're just power level is generally high, so Skellige is definitely kind of the center of the meta right now, and everything is swarming around. You know, how can we beat Skellige? How can we counter Skellige? Because they are the most powerful faction at this moment. Along with that, you actually see monsters doing quite well. Monsters really didn't lose much during the patch. They got a lot of good buffs to their consume archetype, which has kind of been resurfacing and reappearing in the meta. So Monsters is kind of like the number 2 faction right now. I'll say they don't really have a bad matchup per se against Skellige. Monsters can definitely hold their own and even have a winning record against Skellige. Following that, you see Northern Realms coming in at 3rd place. They've been kind of resurging with the buffs they got to their machine archetype, different units getting the crewman tag, and kind of with a bit of unique deck building in their 37 card deck, excuse me, and also with the Witchers injecting that into Northern Realm archetypes. So they're kind of trailing a little bit behind those other 2, but still in 3rd place. And then somewhat absent from the meta, but not necessarily bad, I would say, is Nilfgaard and Skyatal. You still see some players up high on the ladder board, hanging around with things like Spell Skyatal. A little bit tongue twister there. Things like Nilfgaard with Letho. So you definitely see those sorts of decks kicking around, but not really being too competitive, and definitely a bit more lackluster in terms of numbers. So just kind of frame a meta of the whole, kind of what some of our competitors today might be thinking about as they build their decks, figure out their strategies, and as they're competing today. So without any further ado, we'll jump into the semifinal match. This game will be from the perspective of Gwent. Excuse me if I ruin that, but you can see the name on the screen there. Game 1, hopping in, we'll go ahead and run through the decks that each of these are going to queue up with. Gwent is going to be playing a Dagon match, a Dagon deck, excuse me, and Savaget. He is our other competitor in this semifinal. He's going to be heading queuing with a Crack deck. So these competitors, they're queuing up blind into each other, and that's what they chose for the first match. Like I said, Monsters can really hang around with Crack, Skellige in general, even though Skellige tends to be the dominant faction. Dagon, you just get a lot of stuff like weather, small units. You could do some sort of control. You could do consume with Dagon, so really flexible. And then Crack as well, also really flexible. You see people running Axeman variants with Crack, different things like that. So it should be a good match. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into it here, our first semifinals. Here we go, we're going to take a look at the mulligan. Like I said, we are from the perspective of Gwent, as the audio is trailing in now. Looks like he's running some sort of Foglet variant. Going to want to get rid of both of those, blacklist them away. Does not want to see them in hand. Cyprian Wiley, an interesting check choice. Could be very good against Skellige. They definitely like to buff up base strength for their units, and Cyprian can help weaken those a little bit. So interesting to see that in the deck. Savigate will be going first here as he loses the coin flip. Savage Bear coming down immediately, wants to go ahead and ping off any sorts of foglets coming out, any sorts of harpy eggs, and Gwyark does not want any of that. We'll be playing Alexander immediately.
Her who is virgin, mother, and crone.
Savigate answering right back with the Priest of Freya, bringing that bear back. Knows how valuable that is in the monsters matchup. Lots of smaller units spawning in. Gwyark will be answering with Fog. Getting those foglets out of his deck, thinning them. And it looks like Savigate will be running an Axeman variant of the deck. Definitely can cause some problems if you're not prepared for this Axeman variant. We do see, however, that Gwyark does have that Demeridian Bomb in hand. Could be a good answer to one or several Axemen if Savigate is not careful with his positioning. We've gone over to Savigate now. Thinking a little bit of what he wants to do. Ultimately decides on throwing down Shield Maidens to get those out of his deck, buff his Axeman a little bit, and seize the tempo that those cards bring. Second Earth Elemental coming out now for Gwyark. Very good, as it does provide a bit of carryover for this deck. One of the advantages of Monster is that they get great carryover units to use. Another advantage, also not taking damage from the Savage Bear due to that shield that they have. Kind of a nice advantage when facing off against that card. Very troublesome is that bear. Savigate mulling over his decision now, highlighting a couple cards in his hand. Still have not seen a Morkvark from him. Seeing the Axeman so early like we have could indicate that he might not be running a Morkvark, and is looking to just pull those out with his leader. Decides to pass now. Even on cards, Gwyark will have to use one card to go ahead. Interesting that Savigate is not really worried about that carryover value from those elementals. Maybe he got a bad draw on the hand. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he's not really confident. Gwyark decides to take the round with his Catachan. Didn't really have too many great options in his hand to take that round. Mostly because he just had a lot of good quality cards or situational cards like that Demeridian Bomb that he did not want to use. But he will be taking it. Goes into the second round one card down with 8 points of carryover from those Earth Elementals. Playing at the second round mulligan. Decides to throw away that Biting Frost. He does have Fog to pull out Foglets. He does have Dagon still. Lots of different options available for Gwyark. Savigate will have to go first in this round. See what he decides to do. Excuse me, Gwyark going first, passing. My apologies, guys.
For Skellige's glory!
So Savigate is running Morkvark. Decided to wait in that first round to pull it out. Pull it out in the second. Takes the round with one card, and now Savigate actually has the initiative when it comes to this last round due to the Morkvark carryover. Maybe a bit of a bait there from Savigate, not quite sure. But now he's the one starting 8 points up. Now Savigate will be going first, as he did win that last round. If he does have more Axemen in deck, then he will probably appreciate a nice long round 3. 9 cards in hands each. Those
Martin
Axemen are really a
Fraser's
snowbally
patient,
card, so
but
they
she
do need
brooks
some
no
time to
insult.
get going. Pulls the Axeman out. First play. Guayark now just deciding to frost that, or fog that, excuse me. Seeing if maybe he could chip away at that Axeman. Possibly thinking about killing it with a lacerate from the water hag maybe, before it can get going. Does have that Caretaker in hand. It's actually interesting the way this game played out. Usually you get some very good targets from Skellige with Caretaker, but due to the short round 1, it looks like he will not be getting anything too great unless he can kill it this round. Raging Berserker into the fog for Savaget. It's good for him. It'll activate the Raging Berserker, block his Axeman from taking that damage. Guayark deciding now just to frost. Pulling all those units to the back row. The back row is probably where you want to put those there. He's seen Shield Maidens. And he knows that Skellige most likely has a bunch of reviving cards, which all get placed on the back row. Man, look at that premium Carrot there. He looks scary, doesn't he? I would not want to see that guy at a dark alleyway at night. No, sir. Probably one of the best gold cards in the game, one of the best monsters gold, is Carrot there. Super powerful, really great with that frost. Savaget now decoys on the Axeman. Wants to get him out of that weather, wants to buff up his strength a little bit. It's interesting that we have not seen a clear from Savaget yet. We don't really see many clears from Skellige outside of Grimace, their Silver Mage. You may see Skellige players running Armor Smiths to heal through weather damage, but not too many clear skies. Skellige also is the only faction without a single row bronze weather clear unit, interestingly enough. Armor Smith kind of filling that niche for them. 3 weathers on the side of Savaget now. Seems like he is unable to clear it. He decides instead just to fight through. Hjalmar on crate on the range row, spawning that Lord of Undvik. Guayark gonna play it a bit slow, play out his Earth Elemental. See what Savaget wants to do. He does have that Dimeridian Bomb in hand to reset that Hjalmar.
Onward!
Holger comes down now, a great answer to kill off that Lord of Undvik, putting Savaget up almost 30 points now. We will see that Dimeridian Bomb come down, moving 10 points from that Hjalmar and removing his gold status. He will be taking 2 points a turn from that fog if it goes unchecked. I can't imagine Savaget having a weather clear, if we haven't seen one by now. Either did not draw it or does not run one in his deck. Perhaps we'll see Armor Smiths a little bit later on in the game. Really want to wait till the last minute to get armor out of those guys.
Out with the crowns. Come on, quick now.
We see a Shieldsmith instead. Not quite the best card to see on round 3. Usually you want to use those to buff up targets for reviving or carryover, but it is still a 9-point bronze. Not too bad.
No rest, no reprieve.
As we said, that Caretaker not really getting the best value due to the short round 1 and round 2 that we saw. Guayark has managed to claw back the gap a little bit here, within 1 point of Savaget,
What is it?
in part due to the weather that is ticking off every turn. If you're up against a Dagon deck, you definitely want to see at least a few weather clears in your hand. Otherwise, you're going to be in some trouble.
Down here.
Madman Lugasel helps open up that gap again with the clan on Crate Raider coming out from the discard. Water Hack Lacer and Guayark takes the lead with that. Morpvark down to 1. He will respawn if he dies. He will come back as a 5, I believe. This weather is really just hammering down on Sabaget. Blocking that Earth Elemental. Looks like Shackles flew between the two decks. From the deck to the graveyard, rather.
Just one more.
Morpvark comes back. Sabaget is up. Sigdrifa comes down. Pulling that
I
Holger.
hand it to you. Good work.
Five damage from the Holger. It looks like that will not be enough. The weather is the difference maker, guys. And Guayark will be taking round 1 there. Well played by both contestants. Close game. The weather ends up being the difference maker on that one. And that just goes to show, guys, weather is a definitely prominent part of this meta. A prominent part of most metas. So if you cannot find your clearing effects, or if you're not building your deck with them, then you are going to have a bad time with that one. So Guayark takes that win with his Dagon. Remember, guys, you have to win with both of the decks that you have. So Guayark will not be using his Dagon for the rest of the game. Sabaget does have the option to either change his faction, change over to his second deck, or keep playing with the first. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the second match of our final here. Again, this is Guayark and Sabaget. Sabaget on the ropes of elimination, down 1-0. We'll see if he can claw it back now. And it looks like Sabaget will be switching decks. Switches over to a Dagon of his own, while Guayark running the Radovid. Somewhat of an unseen leader in the meta these days. Does have an extremely powerful ability, being able to lock 2 units. Locks are premium in this meta. But Radovid not really finding home in too many decks. Be interesting to see what kind of Dagon that Sabaget is running. As we see the mulligan now, Guayark very happy with his hand, only mulliganing away 1 card. Dagon is one of those leaders where you can run a lot of different archetypes with him. Be interesting to see if Sabaget runs somewhat of a similar deck to Guayark, or instead tries to go for something else, maybe a consume variant, maybe more control or oriented, maybe a more swarming deck. We will see, ladies and gentlemen. Sabaget, first mover here in this match, decides to throw down Selena Harpy. Something we did not see from Guayark last game.
What do you want?
Kadwani Siege support coming out first. Wants to start buffing his units up. Looks like he is running some machines. We see those siege towers in hand. Almost certainly going to be seeing another siege support coming down from Guayark. Sabaget committing to using his Dagon here. Not sure which weather he would like to use. He decides to go for rain, most likely targeting that siege support.
Regroup.
Guayark quickly clearing that, realizes the immense value that is in that siege support, and wants to keep that around. And there we see it, ladies and gentlemen, the Tel card, Varan Warrior coming out.
Salutations.
Looks like more of a consume variant from Sabaget. Like I said, Dagon, very flexible leader. Toad coming out, we'll see what he wants to eat. Olgierd is a common choice. Getting carryover, buffing up your Toad. It is a 2-card combo, so you need to have both in hand. Manticore, it looks like, flashing into the graveyard real quick. That is another common choice as well. And we see those Temerian infantry coming out now. Temerian foot soldiers, rather. 5 points, 2 armor from the siege supports. Nice and sturdy. Speaking of sturdy, there is a 25-point Brand Warrior on the other side already. And no clear way in hand for Gwyrk to deal with that. Could give him some trouble. An egg is in the line of sight of that Brand Warrior next to be eaten. Have to be aware of Ekamaras, a common choice from the Consume archetype. Taking those huge units and carrying them over into the next round. Savaget, from his perspective, he'll have to be wary of any sorts of removal coming down. Radovid is somewhat of the control leader for Northern Realms, so he will have to be aware of that, not committing too much into one unit, unless he wants to risk being punished. Regis Higher Vampire coming down now, taking a peek into the deck of Gwyrk, seeing what he wants to take. Looks like he ate that 3rd siege support from the deck. And a huge siege tower coming down now, buffed up by the siege supports. 2 points from each. That siege tower is a machine. Also getting a buff from the armor on those 2 units. A nice tempo play for Gwyrk. We'll see how Savaget wants to respond. He is still up in this scenario. Taking his time, mulling over his choices. Looks like he may have found a play. Frightener coming down now. I don't blame him if he wants to get out of this round soon.
We've met. I don't recall.
Those siege supports are a lot of tempo coming up the longer the round goes. And look at that, a buff coming down from Gwyrk decides he wants to put this round to rest right now. From that Iris. Luckily for him, he had the perfect activator in that Varan Warrior, denying him the buff from the egg, activating that Iris without much thought put into Gwyrk. Buffing up his units. Savaget now in a hole, 30 points down nearly, deciding if he wants to continue this round or not. Carryover value is much more valuable if you could walk away with the round.
Such a shame, I must kill you.
Succubus coming down now. We do see an answer in Gwyrk's hand with the Demeridium Shackles. That's Succubus. Nearly a 40-point swing, taking that 19-point tower. Minus the 6 strength that you give your opponent, that's nearly a 35-point swing. Lots of points if it goes unanswered. Gwyrk deciding to lock the Succubus, shut it down. If Savaget does have the unlock, he will be able to steal that tower without a response being possible from Gwyrk. We see that now, taking the 40 points. Minus 20 from Gwyrk, adding that 19-point tower to his side. Approximately, of course.
Mean they've not forgotten me.
Gwyrk now might be the one who wants to get out of this round. We see a siege tower drawn to the hand from the Taller. That will certainly help him. I don't know if it'll be enough. We'll see how much further Savaget wants to push the round. Like we said, carryover value is much, much more valuable if you could win the first round. Both spies have been played from each player's deck, even on cards here. Savaget lost a coin flip, so he'll be first mover. And it looks like he is comfortable in his 30-point lead. Guayark, not really looking to fight back. Decides to cede the round, even on cards. No carryover for Sabaget. I think Guayark is happy to see that. Dijkstra drawn to the hand now, a powerful gold. Will allow him to play out an explosive tempo play, if he can get some good draws off that. Looking at the cards remaining in his deck, there's nothing that's too bad for him to get, really. Sabaget winning that first round will be first mover here. We'll see if he wants to bleed Guayark out of cards. Consume players are known for having some good carryover in their decks. Neckers can be played down, respawning each round. Harpies like that can be played. Eggs will provide some carryover value for the next round. So it looks like Sabaget is in control now. He won the first. He's able to bleed while putting out units that will give him continual value. Guayark looking like he wants to shut some of that value down, playing out Cyprian Wiley, banishing one of those Harpy Eggs. Also has Radovid available, able to lock the units if he so pleases. Catachan coming down now from Sabaget. Don't quite know what the best target in the graveyard is. I think he's just looking for points here. Ooh, that Manticore looking juicy. 9 points on top of Catachan's 5 body. I don't think there's any reviving consideration to be done. Monsters can't really revive units from their own graveyard. He does have to consider the possibility of a Nenica, pulling some of Guayark's graveyard units back to hand.
Lots of prior experience. Worked with idiots my whole
Looks like he
life.
decides not to. Dijkstra coming out now. 3 power to the side of Sabaget. Pulls Blue Stripe Scout and Philippa. A nice power swing there. 15 points if you can get good targets with those, good rolls. Putting Guayark up 1 point. Barely staying ahead now of Sabaget. Like we said, Dijkstra can be explosive tempo play if you get some good draws, which Guayark did. Sabaget coming now, taking his time. Decides to throw down 10-point Necker there. We do see that Guayark does have the answer with that Radovid. Gonna go ahead and pull that out now. Doesn't want that Necker carrying over into the next round, spawning another 10-point Necker. Did not need much time to think about that at all, and I do not blame him. I would not want to mess with those Neckers. They can really ruin you if you let those get, if you leave those untouched. You could also throw down a Varan Warrior and Ekamar, consume that Necker, basically getting 10 points for free as it would spawn another. So definitely do not want to mess around with those, just get rid of them while you can. Sabaget would like to keep going in the round. Decides to play his Water Hag, throw down some rain, take the lead. Don't know if he is sensing weakness here from Guayark or if he's got a strong tempo play in his hand. Guayark throws down that Siege Tower. Enough to get him ahead. Up 7 points now. Wants to hold on to that Kirametz and that Death Mold, two very, very good cards. Thinks he can get some value out of those two in the last round. It is important to note that those cards are somewhat situational. Really small bodies on both of them, only 3 and 5 apiece. But if set up with the right board situation, can get some value. Sabaget now deciding that he's had enough, does not want to bleed any further, gives the round over. And we head into the third, even on cards. Guayark will be first mover in this round. Finds his Shawnee off the top. We'll see if he's happy with this hand. Can't really be mad seeing gold and silver. Some of the best colors to see in a hand in Gwent. And again, decides to keep it all. Thumbing through his graveyard now, seeing what he might want to revive. That Succubus is looking pretty juicy there.
As you
He
command.
will be able to answer any large units that may come down from Guark. As we were saying, Death Mold, one of those cards that is really situational depending on the board state. Has to get that out early for only a 3-point body and a rain on an empty row. Guessing that Salvaget will be putting some units down on the melee row. Not a bad guess. There are Neckers in deck. Figures that will probably be the most likely spot for units to land. An empty Ekamara coming out now for Salvaget. Probably not what he wanted to see.
Well, it's
Shani coming out now. We'll see what Guayark wants to pull from his graveyard.
We've nattered enough.
Cyprian Wiley will come out. 10 points of value. 3 armor on that. Beefing it up a little bit. There is the Necker now, so it looks like Guayark did guess right. And another kind of unseen benefit from that Cyprian, lining those 2 units up on the back row, giving him additional value from that Kiramets. Ekamara coming out now, that will spawn another Necker, but it will not be enough. Guayark taking the series 2-0, beating Salvaget with a nice series of matches. Very close, that last one at the end. Have to give both our competitors props for that one. That was a good series. Some interesting decks there. You can kind of see the different ways that Dagon can be run. A lot of versatility in that leader. Can run him in consume variants, weather, control, lots of different stuff. And then we actually got to see some Radovid coming out now, which is definitely a unique pick in this meta. Radovid not really getting a lot of love from the majority of players. So definitely fun to see that. Good game to both players. Well played indeed. Great matches. So guys, we're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, we will have the final matches of you for this TCG eSports Gwent Weekly number 17. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back. Alright guys, let me go ahead and edit the information on the stream now. Get those competitors' names to you guys. We are in the finals. That is right, Guayark sticking around, won that last series. And our next finalist that we have is UDOG. So we've seen the 2 decks that Guayark is running. Dagon and the Radovid. Nice unique peaks. Not quite sure what UDOG will be running. We're going into the game kind of the perspective of the players, where they're playing blind. Can't really do that for Guayark since we've seen his first semifinal already. but we will go ahead and tell you guys what UDOG is playing for the first match so we can talk a bit about the matchup. It's actually going to be a Dagon mirror, UDOG coming in with the Dagon as well. Like we were talking about, Dagon is really versatile leader. Lots of different ways that you could run that deck. The mirror matchup is definitely very polarizing, I believe. Certain sort of Dagon archetypes do better against others. For example, if you're running kind of like a Scorched Succubus heavy type Dagon, you're really not going to do too great in the mirror, just because Monsters in general runs a lot of smaller units, kind of more swarmy type deck. If your Dagon is not running a lot of Weather Clear, then you're going to struggle in the mirror, as Dagon, believe it or not, is actually weak against Weather himself. So we saw kind of in that first series kind of what can happen if you're not prepared for Weather in Gwent. Weather just being a huge part of the meta. So Dagon, as much as he loves to kind of use that Weather and beat his opponents down with that, he's going to need to watch out for himself. So anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and get right into the finals. This is from the perspective of Gwyrk again. We've got UDOG, his opponent. This is for all the marbles. Let's go ahead and get into it right away. Alright, hopping right into the mulligan now, guys. Foglet, we don't want to see that in hand. Get that out of here. Gwyrk, though, is going to be a little bit nicer to that Foglet. Look over the rest of his hand first, see what he's got before he makes any decisions. I like that. No need to rush, you've got plenty of time. See that premium carrot there coming to the hand now. Gorgeous gold monsters for the Monsters faction. With his buddies Woodland Spirit and Caretaker, both premium over on the end. He definitely has to like those in hand. Gonna go ahead and toss the Catachan now. Not so good in the first round, where he's at risk of having some empty graveyards to choose from. UDOG gonna open it up with some Weather from his Dagon. Get his own Foglets out of his deck. Put down some Weather. Gwyrk now deciding to fog the ranged row of UDOG. Be interesting to see why he chose that. Obviously he doesn't want to throw his own Foglets into that fog. UDOG taking the time now to copy his own Foglets with that Necker Warrior. Looks like he's going to want to be spamming out a bunch of those throughout the game. Drowner coming down from Gwyrk, pulling that Necker Warrior into the fog. Another one coming out from the hand of UDOG. Stacking up those Foglets. UDOG going to answer that with Frost on the first row. Weather's already stacking up now. There will be no clear skies in this matchup, Dagon versus Dagon. UDOG throwing down the Frightener. Perhaps wanting to seed the round. But Gwyrk says, no, 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 me first, friend. As he goes up 12 points from that Weather ticking. UDOG now has quite a big hill to climb. He's even on cards right now. He's down 12. He has to play 13 points to tie, as the Frost will be going off. Excuse me, that's wrong. He actually needs 11 points. The Fog will be going off for Gwyrk, as well as UDOG, so he doesn't need quite as much. And one Fog looking like it might do it here. Look at all those Foglets. Oh man, all premium too. Taking the round in one. Not too bad, not too bad. Only down one card to do that. Gwyrk now drawing. We see Frightener and Catachan drawn to the hand. He'll probably want to keep that Catachan now. Deciding to throw the Frightener. He's got his card advantage. He's seen a spy from UDOG, so he doesn't have to worry about UDOG climbing that back. Unless he plays Siri. UDOG now looking to bleed out Gwyrk a little bit, throwing down an Earth Elemental. Those Earth Elementals are nice as they have some carryover, but Gwyrk does not want to mess around with that carryover. Earth Elementals are aplenty, however, from UDOG. We'll see how many he gets to stick. Catachan now. eating that Drowner. The highest body in either graveyard. 12 points on Catachan. Aeromancy coming out now. An additional way to pull Fog for Udog. Getting out those Foglets. And just like that, they are swept away by the Archgriffin. Gwyric, interestingly enough, only has one extra weather clear with that Water Hag in his hand. Be interesting to see if he can stave off the weather from Udog. Weather and bears he will have to contend with as that Blood Curdling Roar does come down. Gwyric takes the opportunity to get some good value out of his Caretaker. 10 points this round from the Earth Elemental, 4 in the next. Playing quick now, spending no time. Udog playing down his Water Hag. Putting those monsters into a Torrential Rain. Gwyric not wanting to mess around with any carryover value. Locks that Earth Elemental. Recognizing that he will have quite a bunch of Foglets to deal with. Udog now plays a Catachan of his own. Not quite as big as the Catachan of Gwyric. A little bit less options to choose from. This match is incredibly close right now. Gwyric down 3 in the second round. Still up card, however. Caranther coming out, sweeping all those units into one row. They're going to be hurting for that Frost if it were not for the Archgriffin from Udog. But that does get followed up with a Water Hag. Caranther into Water Hag, one of the most powerful 2-card combos in the game if you can get a nice board. Udog right now looks like he won't be clawing back that card advantage. He's down 15 points. Down a card. It's hard to see how he'll be able to get that back. If he had a Spy or Siri, I imagine we would have seen it by now. It looks like this round will continue as long as Udog thinks he can bleed some key cards out of Gwyric. Or maybe he'd rather just 2-0. Woodland Spirit coming down now, taking the lead in thunderous fashion. Look at all those Foglets, 7 of them coming down. That is a power swing if I've seen one. Gwyric not impressed as he has a Woodland Spirit of his own. Unfortunately, he has to play it into the weather there. Gonna be taking quite a bit of damage from that rain, from that fog, as his unit's lining up. We see Commander's Horn, Demeridian Bomb in hand. Not sure how much value he'll be getting off that. Not enough to win the round, unfortunately. One card left, Dagon. Rain on the back row. Was that a misclick? Oh man. He could have won there. What happened there? Ladies and gentlemen, throwing that round away is Gwyric. A little bit of a misclick there, it looks like. He did have Rain on the first or the second row, melee or range. Could have taken it there. Range row, he would have got rid of tons of points. Getting away those Foglets. Could have even Frost. I don't know if maybe he was frustrated, thought he lost the round, or possibly misclicked, but succeeding that one away. Quite an interesting finish. I don't really know what to say about that one, to be honest. Definitely strange. You know, in tournaments, it's tough. You know, when you go through a long bracket and you maybe think you've lost the game, you can definitely be a little upset. Maybe do some bad moves. Maybe forfeit too early when you might have won. I definitely understand the feeling. I know even very, very good, the best tournament players make those mistakes. I've been one to make those mistakes. I've been on the other side where my opponent make those mistakes. Mental fortitude is a really important skill to have in these tournaments. So it's a shame to see that, but you know, I'm sure next time he'll be a little more careful. Anyway, so we see the Dagon from UDog taking the win there, 2-0 over Guayark's Dagon. Interesting to see the differences in the build there. UDog going more for a Foglet spam version, where Guayark was kind of more just basic control weather. So always good to see there. I'm glad we saw basically a ton of different Dagon versions. No two Dagon was the same. Just goes to show that there is still a lot of variety in Gwent, what many people would say. Anyway, moving on to the next match. We know Guayark does have his Radovid in the back. We're going to want to see if he wants to change. UDog, we don't know what his second deck is. Guayark, also unaware. These players go into these matches blind. So we're going to go ahead without any further waiting, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to hop into the next match of the finals. There's still possibly two more, not the last match, if Guayark can come back. It seems like I spoiled the ending, but I actually did not watch these matches before this. So anyway, we're going to take a look at the next match. Guayark up 1-0 in these finals. Excuse me, Guayark down 1-0 in these finals. Let's see if he can take it back.
For Skellige's glory!
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, UDog coming out with a crack deck. King of the meta at this point, Skellige. Guayark deciding to change things up a little bit. Goes to his Radovid deck. Be interesting to see how Radovid matches up against Skellige. Northern Realms does have some good tools to deal with the things that Skellige likes to do. Machines, namely, can pierce through armor on Axemen and things like that. Also have cards like Philippa, Kira Metz for good removal. And Dijkstra is in this deck of Guayark. Can possibly give him good tempo swings. We see a bear come down on the field and just as quickly leave the field, as Guayark does not want to mess around with that. Orkvar coming down now. Pretty standard turns 1 and 2 from Skellige. I'm sure you guys have seen it a million times on the ladder. Siege support coming down now for Guayark. And UDog really doesn't want to mess around with that either. We see instant removal on that.
Salutations.
Guayark does have the second siege support in his hand. Plays it down immediately. Want to get those siege supports down early, as they will help you snowball the round. But UDog answers after answers, shutting down that. Port's Marion Foot Soldiers are coming out as 3 points each. Donar unfortunately stealing one from the deck.
Regroup!
Things not going Guayark's way early in this match, moving at a breakneck pace. Raging Berserker coming down now. Siege Tower buffing up his units, getting buffed a little bit there. These two are not wasting any time in this match. Freya coming down now, reviving the buffed up Savage Bear. Wild Boar is on the field.
I'm so very.
That Morkvarg will be getting pretty beefy. Getting 1 point of base strength every turn that the game goes on. Iris Storm down on the field now, slowing down UDog a bit. Taking a gander at that Iris, deciding what he wants to do against that. If he wants to leave it be, try and remove it. We saw him hover something over that Iris very quickly. Could be a decoy, could be something like a Marjoram, possibly trying to buff it. Not quite sure at this point what he's wanting to do about that. Could possibly be also trying to lock it, maybe, if he's got a Shackles or something like that in hand. Did give away a bit of information to Guayark with that. And we do see that decoy coming out now. Decides to pull the trigger on that. Using that Iris against Guayark. Interesting play right there. See how Guayark decides to respond.
To the dungeon with him.
Decides to lock Morkvarg and that Iris. Doesn't want UDog killing that and buffing up his board. Represents a lot of points.
Good work.
Guire complimenting his opponent right now. Seems like he likes the plays that he is making. Marjoram coming down on that Morkvarg, buffing him up. That could indicate that Udog has a plan to get that lock off the Morkvarg, whether it's through a locking or unlocking unit or Sigdrifa. Both players passing now. Guire coming into the second round with a bit of carryover value. 9 points on the board, giving him the advantage. And some pretty good draws here. The reinforcements is really good, allowing him to take pretty much any card he wants from his deck, and Guire as well is happy with those draws. And there is the unlock coming down now. Sigdrifa bringing back that beefy old Morkvarg, ripping those chains off. He is back in the fight, ladies and gentlemen, and he is bloodthirsty. Guire now staring down a 13-point advantage from Udog.
No mercy for your kind.
Going to go ahead and Philippa. Not quite getting full value on that, as he doesn't have that many targets to target. Deciding that he needs the points now.
Should I pound it into a poker?
Udog further buffing up that Morkvarg, representing a lot of points in the third round if it's not taken care of.
I'll gladly help.
Guire, however, does have the answer, locking the Morkvarg, but buffing him back up. Possibly an oversight on that Margarita. Her secondary effect besides the lock is resetting a unit. Maybe a bit of a sequencing error there. Could have Margarita first, then Philippa to follow up.
Sure, be glad to.
Now Morkvarg is locked though. If Guire can get out of this round relatively easily, he could have a chance. Nothing too great on the Shawnee target there.
Gotta hand it to you. Good
Has
work.
to use 2 to claw it back. I'm not ready to count Guire out now. He does still have that Dijkstern deck. If he could draw into it, he will get a nice bit of tempo. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Dijkstra off the top of that mulligan.
My lads will make
Let's see what he can make happen with it now.
bloody non-humans.
Blue Stripe Scout coming out, 6 points. And Death Mold with no Thunder target, unfortunately. We'll have to put that rain down. Not as much as I'm sure he would have liked. Only up 6 at this point. And Hjalmar on crate is going to come down for Udog, finishing the game. 2 cards up. Guire just a little bit messed up in that second round with the Margarita, with the Philippa. Udog just going to play down his Lugos, make sure. Doesn't want to leave anything to chance, doesn't want to make a mistake there. Make sure he's got a nice lead, and Udog will be taking it the final match of this TCG Weekly. That was a good one. And we can see there a bit of maybe the frustration coming down from Guire. These tournaments, I tell you, they're not easy. They can be a grind, and they do take quite a bit of mental strength. But Guire making it to the finals, man, that is impressive. Nothing to be ashamed about. Seating there to Udog, but it was a great couple of matches leading up to that, and a great final series as well. But congratulations to our winner for the TCG Esports Weekly Open number 17, Udog. Well played there. Strong decks with those Dagon and that Crack, 2 of the top tier leaders in the meta today. Hard to beat those, and he played them well. Want to give a quick thanks to the contestants for coming out and competing in TCG Esports Weekly. They happen every Tuesday night. If you want more information, check out the battle feed for TCG Esports, or hop into the Discord and get some information about them. I want to thank the admin of the tournament, Lionhawk, for running the tournaments. Doing a great job keeping them going, and also allowing me to cast. Thank you very much, sir. Also want to give a shout out to all you guys watching out there. Really appreciate you stopping by for the cast every week. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube as well. Again, my name is ShoePlays. I'm streaming on Twitch. I also have Discord and Twitter if you guys would like to interact with me some more outside of Twitch. All those can be found down in the panels below my channel. Once again, I want to thank you guys for watching. It's been a great couple of matches, and I will see you at the next TCG Esports cast. Have a good night, everybody.